Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. Jared here with another video review from Fanboys Forever. And today we'll be reviewing the brand new Target exclusive Turtles of Grayskull Splinter-Skull figure. What a name. Anyway though, this is one of their deluxe figures that Target is doing in their exclusive line. All of the Target figures do come with pieces to build the metal Botto, which is the combination of Metalhead and Roboto. As you can clearly see, this is Master Splinter from the Ninja Turtles, and he is mixed with King Grayskull. So it's a really interesting combination. Don't know why I never would have considered it, but it's just not something I ever would have thought of. On up, we can see some really nice artwork here that shows some spots that didn't end up getting painted, like the white trim around the gi. On the side, we have a little bit more artwork. On the bottom, here is the UPC code. These are hitting targets right now. A little bit more art. And on the back, we have some of my favorite artwork from the entire series so far. This is an awesome kind of group shot of everybody together. I think this would make a terrific poster. I do have everybody featured here except for April O'Neil back there, and she'll be coming out very soon. At the bottom of the packaging, it gives you just a little bit of a bio and a few directions about Metal Botto. All right, let's go ahead and open them up. All of these deluxes have included one of these cool oversized cards, and I love this art for Splinter-Skull. On the back, you get a little bit about his powers and some extra information about the character itself. Keep in mind, it's very important to note that he is the wisest sensei slash talking rat to ever exist. And of course, a quick little guide for which pieces are removable. So if you're looking for just a standard looking Splinter on the Masters of the Universe kind of style of body proportions, this has you covered with this base form. I've taken off any of the accoutrement that kind of makes him more like King Grayskull, and we're left with just this standard Splinter. You can see that it does look pretty much like him, except he has some braids, and he's kind of muscled up using the kind of beast chest right there. What I really do like are the brand new kind of cloak pieces. You can see up here that he does have the little logos that the classic Splinter always had with the little circles. I think that's a really cool touch. And I really do like that he has the Master style belt right there attached to this. This is removable and is just kind of a piece that sets there. So if you take the body in half, you can take that off. And I would say you could also probably get this shirt off pretty easy. From the back, you can see that he's got the tail, and it looks really good as well with a hinge there on the articulation. And I really like the hair back there. It looks very intricate. One interesting thing to note about this version of Splinter is his metallic blue kind of eyes. They have a little paint application there of white just to kind of have like a reflection in them, and I think they look really cool for this version. I also really like the white fade on the nose there, which is reminiscent of the old classic toy. In general, I really like the head sculpt with how large the nose is and how big the teeth are, because they really do harken back to the original toy sculpt more than anything else, in my opinion. All right, let's start adding some things to turn him into the embodiment of the spirit of Grayskull. All you have to do is take him apart and put each piece on just like so, looping the bottom around. Once you have that, you can lock it in with this little tab, and you get the two connectors back there like you get with a lot of these figures, so that you can add shields and things of that nature and turtle shells. Splinter with the King Grayskull harness is looking really good, but he needs that extra little something, and we have the King Grayskull style of cape. Now, what makes this special is even though we've seen King Grayskull's cape in this scale and also in the Masterverse scale, this is the very first time that they've done it in either line with an actual rubber piece and not soft goods or any kind of faux kind of fur. So I think that that makes it very, very unique, and we're certainly going to try that later with the actual King Grayskull figure to see how it looks on him, because I am very curious as well. If you're wondering how this is fitting on there, there's not really anything in particular keeping it on except just friction. This clamps really well to the neck, and as you can see, it's not going anywhere. So I'm very surprised by that. I actually thought that there would be some trouble about that staying on, but there is no trouble whatsoever. You can even pretty comfortably turn the head a little bit, and it still pretty much stays on there. It might wobble a little bit, but you can see that there's really nothing holding it on, even though I thought there probably would be some prongs going into that, but surprisingly enough, there wasn't. To complete Master Splinter's look, we are going to add the top of the power sword to the top of his walking stick. So this is cool because it's like an astral projection of the power sword, and once you connect it, it's like he has a power spear in a way. So I really like this, and it has a really awesome presence to it. I also really like the idea that he comes with an alternate hand as his final accessory here. So if you don't want him to grasp both of these weapons at once, which you totally can't do and have him dual wield, you can just have an open, relaxed hand over here, which is what I'll do. And voila, there he is in his full glory. I think that visually speaking, this is a really successful marriage of two different characters, two different ideas that probably shouldn't work as well together as they do. And for some reason, it's not something I ever would have thought of, but I really do think that it works. But maybe it's the combination of the colors, how the red and the purple kind of go together, but it contrasts nicely with the belt and the harness. I'm not really sure what it is. Maybe the motifs of the characters are sort of similar in a way. Even though Splinter is not the ancestor of the turtles, I guess they are both kind of elder characters that are kind of guides for the other character, I guess you could say. But no matter which way you slice it, something about it feels pretty kosher. I think that it seems pretty correct to me. Of course, we are going to go ahead and do a very short comparison with the King Grayskull from Origins. Unfortunately, this is a pretty rare figure because only the folks who got the Eternia playset, like I did, have him around. Hopefully they'll make him available some other way, even if there's a little bit of a variation to keep the exclusivity. And you can see that this is a pretty solid little matchup here. You can definitely tell that Splinter is supposed to be an homage to King Grayskull, and I think it works really well. It doesn't matter which version of King Grayskull you kind of subscribe to, as I've found to be kind of a sticking point for a few of my viewers here on the channel, and that's all right. Everybody has their preferences. I think that he would work as an homage to really either one. It doesn't matter which version of King Grayskull you like, whether it's this one or the 2000X version. It doesn't really matter. That's pretty irrelevant to this version of the character. Of course, I imagine that Shredder is the arch enemy of this version of Splinter as well, and I think they look really great together. As you can see, scale-wise, there's nothing amiss here. There's nothing weird. Shredder may have, maybe just slightly an edge over Splinter in terms of height, and they look just about perfect together. Of course, you're going to be able to get some really awesome kind of standoffs between these two guys, and the figure photography that will come as a result will be pretty epic, I imagine. So that's always a big benefit of getting a new character like this. Of course, my first instinct as a big Turtles fan is to have all four brothers with Splinter to see how that looks, and I think it looks great. So you can already imagine what those kinds of displays are going to look like and how nice they'll be once you have them set up. Naturally, we do want to see how this cape looks on the original King Grayskull figure. And while we were at it, I figured we may as well try the brand new harness as well. A couple of unexpected results here, one of them being that the harness itself is pretty much too big for a King Grayskull right here. You can see that it's kind of loose and hangs off, and that's because it was meant to be large enough to go over Splinter's whole gi and everything and to still have room. So that's why it's too big there. The other thing is that the cape is a little more bothered with this kind of rubberized collar by King Grayskull's wide head and hair. So that kind of makes it a little bit tougher to fit than the Splinter figure does. So you can definitely tell that it was more designed for it for the Splinter figure, but once you balance it on there just a little bit, it really doesn't look half bad. So for the people who don't really like the soft goods and the faux fur and things on their figures, this might be an okay option. I still think it doesn't look exactly natural though, as it kind of rides up a little high and kind of is far back. We'll definitely look at a little bit of articulation just for a minute. That's just because he has some pieces on there and I want you to be able to see how the articulation kind of interacts with that. Usually there's really nothing new to say about articulation on Origins figures. With the head, if you're using the cape, it does put a little bit of a limit on what you can do because that back braid kind of gets stuck under the collar, but you can still kind of work with it. You kind of have to decide if you want that extra articulation and have the cape not fit as well, or if you want the braid to go over top of the cape. And you can do either one. Now, here's the thing. If you do that, your head's going to be a little more locked in, but I personally do prefer the braid to come out past the cape because I feel like that it keeps the cape more secured. Plus, you can still turn the head, and it's really not that much of a big deal. I'm surprised by how independent the head moves from the braids down below it, so I actually think that's a good thing. With the arms, the cape doesn't really inhibit this at all. You can get 90-degree movement out of both arms. It does inhibit going up too much, but it does flex a little bit, so it will get out of the way and still stay on, but it won't look quite as natural. Of course, you have the rotation. You have the pretty good right angle hinge right there. You have hinges on the wrist. You can turn the hands, of course. There is a waist swivel. You can get the splits, and they're really not as limited as you might think. And this is really, really stretchy material, and it's big enough to flex. Also, if we kick outwards, that's not so much of a problem either. So I was actually surprised by how well this worked and how stretchy it was. That's not always been the case in these lines. You can see that we have just, a right angle hinge right there. We do have a rotation at the knee. We do have a rotation at the boot. We do have some nice ankle hinges and some pivot. So you can get those super wide stances, and hopefully Splinter will hold them. Let's see if he will. Yeah, he's a little back heavy because of the cape. I would actually use the tail back here, which can rotate and does have a hinge to go side to side. I would actually use it as kind of a display stand in a way, and just put it down there to take some of the weight from the back, and it actually works pretty well. You can see that we can stabilize the figure pretty easily, especially if we have the hand up. He's doing like some kind of energy blast because I guess he is supposed to be an astral projection. So there's a lot of cool things you can do. I think overall this is a really nice figure. This is by far one of my favorite deluxes that we've seen in the line so far, and this is a line with some truly excellent deluxes. Of course, the next one is going to be the Bebop and Rocksteady Too Bad combination, and I believe that will complete out this little subline from Target, and of course that'll complete Metal Botto. But Splinter himself is definitely worth a pickup. Now retail is regularly $25. I think I had a 20% off coupon in the Target app, and I got him for like $21. So I was really, really pleased with that. I think he turns out beautifully. Of course, there's a couple little things that he's missing. I guess he could have had the white trim in these little sections, but it's not something I really care about and would be more of an homage to like the Archie Comics design for Splinter. And the little circles up here, the little rings on his purple gi are not painted yellow, but I could really care less because those are mostly covered up. What we are left with is an absolutely awesome looking Splinter figure, which also doubles as an excellent King Grayskull homage. So he's just as successful as the very best figures in the line. But speaking of Metal Botto that I mentioned a moment ago, I think this would be a great time to partially assemble him. Reason being because he is pretty close to being done at this point, so I think we should at least have a look. Let's go ahead, and the new pieces we get is this big chest right here and this turtle shell, so it's really meaty, the pieces that you do get. I am going to go ahead and combine them at the waist here. Ta-da! You can take the shell, plug it into the back. I love all the storage back there. We do have one arm so far. I'll go ahead and click that in. Woo. And we have the head. All right, so we can already see the action feature as we spin the waist there. And of course the mouth guard goes up and down, just like we would see on Botto. So I think so far this is looking really cool. You can definitely go ahead and start plugging in accessories and things on the little ports. Let's see how it looks. Yep, on the back you can do that for the turtle shell. This front chest piece can actually come right off. Once you take it off, you can see the gears inside, and just like an old school Botto, as you turn him, the gears turn, so that's another really cool feature. Can't wait to see the completed version once he has some feet and another arm, so I think it's looking really good. Well guys, that will be it for me. I really hope that you've enjoyed this review today for the brand new Splinter-Skull figure. It's a figure that I think absolutely does an awesome job of representing the mashup that it's aiming for. I think maybe the very most lackluster thing about the figure itself is the name. Splinter-Skulls just sounds a little weird. I'm not really sure what else they could have called it. I racked my brain trying to think of a better one. My final idea was Sensei Grayskull. I think that that would have sounded really cool and got the point across. However, if you have a better name for this mashup, I would love to hear about it in the comments below. I'll definitely go through the comments, pick out the very best one, and that person will win my gratitude. Anyway though, don't forget that if you've enjoyed the content today, to please make sure that you like the video. This means a lot to me and my family, and is a very simple step that you can take to help make sure that this video is shared out to others. Of course, if you're really appreciative, you can hit that thanks button down below, or you can subscribe to the channel. Either one I would really appreciate. And with all that being said, God bless you and yours, and I'll see you on Fanboys Forever. Fanboy out.